Hello guys, and welcome to a new Still Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I'm joined by Val.
Hello again.
And today we're going to be casting TheMagicMan73 versus GodsEmperor in the 5th Asia Pacific Tournament, round 2 lower bracket. On the allied side today, it's going to be the Guards Armoured under the command of the Magic Man, and on the Axis side we have the 3rd Fallschirmjager, and this is Pegasus Bridge. So what do you think about these divisions, Val?
I think this is kind of a map where we could see it go either way. I know that's a really generic thing to say, but with GodsEmperor, like if he gets his 3rd Fallschirmjager into some of these towns on the in the blue side at the start, if he can get there very quickly, it's so difficult to dismantle some of those really good Fallschirmjager units. But equally, there's a lot of open ground, and he will suffer a little bit if he plays this bottom side too much against some of the really nice Guards armored units like the Humber Mark III. I don't see it too often, but I do like the AEC and stuff like that. And obviously the Cromwell Mark VII is the Beast A Face Cromwell. So yeah, it's one of those maps where I think depending on how the start goes, we could see it end either very much in favour of Fallschirmjager, or they could very much struggle against the Guards armored here.
Yeah, so this goes either way in a sense that if GodsEmperor keeps some decent recon on the field and then gains air supremacy, he can definitely pick off a lot of units with like HS-129s that are sitting in the open. However, the open for his ground forces is actually a very bad thing in the sense that the L6s don't match the range of the Cromwells. The Fallschirmjagers can't really push across the open very efficiently, and generally you wouldn't want to because you don't want to spend 45-point squads to push across the open like you would with like Ersatz-Truppen, for example. Whereas the Magic Man can really exploit these open areas. So on the top side he can defend that quite well, although he may struggle to push through the tree lines further on. But on the bottom side he has a pretty nice defensive area where he can push in.
I think you're definitely right, and this is one of those games where I think airplay is going to be key. If the 3rd Fallschirmjager can make use of those G6R6s of those HS-129s, these sort of high quality tanks that Magic Man gets earlier on don't really matter. But if he misplays with those, then he's going to have a tougher time.
Yeah, so the one thing that we can talk about is in the town, the Fallschirmjagers aren't actually as good as you'd think, because generally you'll have rifles in those buildings, and at close range rifles actually have a higher HE than Fallschirmjagers, so they can fight them quite well, especially in like that sort of little forest patch in the middle of the town. It can cause issues for the Fallschirmjager in Phase A. However, in Phase B, of course, you do get Fallschirm Pioneers, and that's when this town could really come under command of GodsEmperor, and if he works his way through it and gets through to the other side, then he could grasp quite a lot of ground off the Magic Man. But we are off, and down on the bottom side it looks like the Magic Man is going to be using the Humber Mark III. He's got the Cromwell 7 in there. There's going to be 2 rifles and a dingo. For the mid, it's going to be Humber Mark III, motorized rifles and motorized rifle leader. On the top side, it's going to be 2 rifles and motorized rifle leader with not a leader, sorry, just a motorized rifle with the 6-pounder there. Opposing those are a Pak 41 Gerlich and the MG. There is going to be some recon, could be some Fallschirmpanzer Abwehr, would be quite nice to sort of ambush the roads, something we haven't really mentioned so far. Into the town is going to be 2 Fallschirmjagers, an MG and the command, and on the bottom side it's going to be Pak 41, some more recon, MG 34, and a couple units of Fallschirmjagers, which are going to be trying to push for these little tree patches in the middle of the fields, which is an interesting place for those to be heading.
I'm really surprised we've not seen L6 come out from GodsEmperor here. Don't get me wrong, I mean it does struggle against the Guards armoured if they if it comes across like a Cromwell 7. But if you micro them well, like in the town in the middle here, it could be a fantastic support unit, so I am a little perplexed. On the bottom side though, this poor Gerlich has just been annihilated.
Yeah, the Humber Mark III and the Cromwell 7 getting their HG on target, and that Pak 41 Gerlich went down very quickly indeed. without scoring a kill onto the Humber. I was kind of expecting the Humber to die, but the Cromwell 7 definitely wouldn't have, since it has that significant front armour that can just bounce those shots all day long. But the Panzerabwehr is in position. That's going to internal fragment the Humber Mark III. I'm not a massive fan of allowing that Panzerabwehr to fire at the Humber Mark III, because it reveals its location. And although they do have very high stealth, I don't think the Magic Man's going to allow this Cromwell 7 to die to it now. And the Fallschirmjager gets taken out nonetheless. So that's going to open up the door for the Magic Man to swing on through, and it looks like GodsEmperor is going to be trying to close that with a Pak 41 and a Panzerschreck. Meanwhile in the town, Fallschirmjager has moved through and managed to win an engagement against, I think, one of the units of motorised rifles. On the top side, the MG is doing a lot of damage to the rifles in the open.
I think this is one of those situations where this could turn very bad for GodsEmperor very quickly, because you've got to remember, he doesn't get much reprieve from this in B phase. If he sort of can't stem the bleeding on this bottom side, which, don't get me wrong, if he gets lucky with the AT gun, if he places his Panzerschrecks correctly, then he can deal with it. But if he loses those, then it's a long way to C phase when you get more income than the Guards Armoured, and it's going to feel terrible if you're the third Fallschirmjager player.
Yeah, so what I would like to see is maybe like the HS129, sort of the ME109 G6R6s coming in, stuff like that. On the top side though, Fallschirmjagers get taken out before they unload, which is a horrible thing to see. But yeah, on this bottom side, it's going to be reliant on this Panzerschreck for sure. When it gets into the orchard there will cause threat, but we are only sitting at the 52% for the Magic Man, so not a significant lead. And yeah, these orchards may prove difficult for the Magic Man to push through, because orchards work perfectly for Fallschirmjagers in a sense that it opens up their ability to fire with all their HE at once. But the engagement in the town there, falling away from GodsEmperor, with the Fallschirmjagers being surrendered. The command was not close enough, and that's a big mistake, honestly.
It was, but this Humber Mark III might be moving a little bit close to the sun down here, I think just edging out of Fallschirmjager range there. If GodsEmperor notices, he can probably move forward and get a hit in.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in range. Oh, MG range, sorry.
Yeah, the MG is going to be opening up onto the Recce. We've got the Fallschirmjagers engaging the motorised rifles at close range now. Panzerschreck's trying to get shots onto the M5 half-tracks, but did miss their first shot. Or this Fallschirmjager on the bottom side, please don't let it be killed. I thought it was going to be another Fallschirmjager dead before unload, which is another terrible place to be. But with these Fallschirmjagers opening up with their machine guns, are now going to be run down by this Humber Mark III in the open. And that's just a case of not using return fire properly, because you'd never want your Fallschirmjagers to shoot in that position, especially with the half-tracks and the Humber Mark III already there. On the top side, the M5 half-track is going to go down. Motorised rifles next to it are in trouble, but Fallschirmspeertrupp have been revealed, and that could be a target for the Stuart 6 moving forwards. Another Fallschirmjager revealing itself to the rifles, and is going to come under fire now from the Cromwell 7 and the Humber Mark III. Panzerschreck does take out the Dingo on the bottom side, but I think the Magic Man may have just been trying to use that to scout almost. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, does discover where the Panzerschreck is, and means that this Cromwell 6 will have to be a little bit cautious moving on. We're almost pushing a +2 here on the side of the Magic Man.
This is really not looking very good for GodsEmperor here. I'm still very surprised he's not brought either an L6 out or any planes. If you're in this position, save it for a HS129, go for that Cromwell. That'd be a really nice kill. Or even just again like a G6R6, you can come in, stun some of the Humbers, stun some of the infantry. But electing for more Fallschirmjager, I think as he keeps losing these to fire support, like against the Humber Mark IIIs, I just don't think he's making good investment with them.
Yeah, and you can see these Fallschirmjagers are struggling to kill off even the motorised rifle leader here at the 100-meter range, because they have significantly lower HE than they used to. But yeah, I think maybe pushing into the town is not necessarily a bad idea. Into phase B, for example, like you get the Fallschirm Pioneers, and then you can maybe try and cut off the reinforcements to the bottom side, cut off this Humber Mark III and Cromwell 7 if you manage to get into the buildings. But it's a long way to go, and a lot of Fallschirmjagers have already died in situations that are questionable. I think neglecting the use of the return fire mechanic has definitely cost GodsEmperor a lot of troops already.
and it's probably going to cost him this Fallschirmjager squad as well. And these are expensive. It's 45 points. Like the Humber itself is only 40 points. I mean, yes, you have to pay for the recon too, but you know, this is not a good look for GodsEmperor, I'm afraid. I think, and it's I think he is struggling a bit. Although this Gerlich might get a very nice kill onto this Humber Mark III.
Yeah, this Gerlich has got to save the Fallschirmjager's day. Otherwise, the Humber Mark III can easily advance onto the Fallschirmjager and get the job done. But with the Humber opening up, okay, it is going to go down. I was thinking it might stun up the Pak 41 in time, but not quite. Fallschirmjager's going to survive to fight another day. Maybe kill off these rifles finally. Puption has been revealed in this bottom side. Reki moving up there, revealing that Puption in the forested area or in the heavy cover. The Panzerschreck has also died. So we are now seeing an investment in Panzer L6s. For the town is going to be some off-map. But is that off-map really going to be worth it? That is 140 points, and there isn't 140 points worth of infantry to kill there, that's for sure.
I'm still really just amazed that GodsEmperor hasn't brought any planes in. Thanks so much, I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but you know, in this position, you can bring an L6 into the bottom side. What's that going to accomplish? It can't go toe-to-toe with the Cromwell Mark 7. Bringing it to the town is not a bad idea, I think. It's a better idea than, I think it's a better investment than the Schwimmwagen, the off-map. But yeah, still just a bit amazed we've not seen any planes out from GodsEmperor.
Well, what it looks like is GodsEmperor is out of Fallschirmjagers at this point. He's brought in so many and had so many killed that he's like light on infantry availability at this stage in the game, which is not a place you want to be in. He's got to hope this Pak 41 gets a shot onto this Stuart 6 in the top side. Does get the weapon jam, which is quite nice, so that is likely to be a kill. Stuart 6 will not be able to pin down the Pak 41 with its 30 cals because of that. So that's one Stuart 6 down. Maybe he can move that down to the bottom tree line now and find the second Stuart 6. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the L6 pushing into the town is a fantastic idea. Really would assist any Fallschirmjagers in continuing the push. But without any infantry there to take advantage of both the off-map and the L6, it's a very questionable sort of decision. Like the L6 will just need to remain defensive until the Fallschirmjagers arrive, and why it hasn't come in sooner is something that I'd love to ask GodsEmperor.
I would for sure, just like exposing, oh, he's just going to escape the Cromwell Mark 7, but this Panzer L6, oh, he's back in range again. This is not going to end well if he gets hit.
Yeah, the Cromwell 6 is looking for this kill. It's just attack moving and getting trolled at the moment. But on this top side, Sexton did come in. MagicMan going to be killing the Pak 41. Stuart 6 is going to then be able to engage the Panzer L6 at the 1,000 meter range. And that's the trouble with these L6s in the open, is that they have the 800 meter range versus the 1000 meter range of pretty much every tank on the Guards Armoured. So those are never engagements that you want to take, and relying on Panzerschreck ambushes and Panzer Abwehr is something that you definitely need to do, but since it wasn't micro properly on the bottom side, it has left him in a very sticky position on the side of GodsEmperor. Pak 41 on this sort of bottom side here now getting hit by the Sexton as well, whilst it tries to kill off the M5 half-track. And we can see the infantry in the town is coming under fire. M5 half-track, I think, had line of sight onto the Fallschirmjager there for a little while. But Stuart 6 now cleaning up the L6 on the top side, and GodsEmperor definitely leaving a lot to be desired in this game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it feels like he just used all of his infantry and then he ran out of infantry, so now he's using all of his tanks, and now he's just he's got more infantry coming in. I don't know, it seems kind of like he's just really refusing to play like combined arms style.
Yeah, I don't know, he seems like he likes the units of or just likes the division, but doesn't necessarily understand how its strengths work against the Guards Armoured in specifically, because in Phase A, again, the HS-129 can just run all over the Guards Armoured, especially with the support of maybe just one of the 2-star ME-109s. But having not brought in either of those aircraft in Phase A has really let him down. Maybe he'll have more available in Phase B, who knows. But here come Fallschirm Pioneers, and they're being brought into the top side. And to me, it just shows sort of a misunderstanding of where units are required. Fallschirmjagers are fine for that you can push them up that double tree line either side of the road, and that works out okay. But Fallschirm Pioneers, they should be coming to the town right now, because that is quite simply where you need them in order to kill enemy infantry at close range, whilst you support your Panzerschreck moving forwards. Also the L6s, for example. And then you can make that sort of combined push of Fallschirm Pioneers, Panzerschreck, and the L6 to break through these Humbers and the infantry that he's up against. But at the moment, another engagement going on down here. L6 engaging the Stuart 6 is going to track well damage that.
I really do think that he's kind of matching off in the worst possible way, because Guards Armoured has some fantastic fire support. And just running like open infantry in fields is such an easy way to lose like all of your 45-point infantry units. And you can look on this bottom side, he's got nothing really. I mean, he might get killed with his Puption against the Cromwell if the Magic Man sort of misplays this and doesn't push with the rifles. But it's kind of beside the point. I feel like he's like almost diametrically opposed to the way he should be playing this matchup.
Yeah, it's really odd. So yeah, we are going to see that Puption go down. The Recce squad accompanying the Cromwell 7 is going to allow that to happen. Motorized rifles pushing across in the open here are going to reveal some Fallschirmjägers eventually as well. Fallschirmführer has died in the backside of the town as the rifles come in. But look at this off-map. It's just placed blindly, and that is never something you want to do with off-map. Off-map needs to be hitting something that you can see. Otherwise it's never really worth it, because you could then push on to your off-map and then realise that there was nothing there in the first place, or you can push on to the off-map and realise it was all armoured vehicles that have now retreated and will just come back to bite you later on. So yeah, bringing in that off-map definitely questionable. Sexton's going to pin down the Fallschirmführers. Panzerschreck's going to stop the Humber Mark III from getting the surrender though. More infantry is coming in onto this town, but we're going to have to wait till phase C really to see enough points to bring back this deficit that GodsEmperor has found himself in after some questionable plays, to say the least.
I feel like it's one of those situations where he's just lost not so much, it's not even the material, right? It's not the points that GodsEmperor is really worried about. It's how much he's bled these Fallschirmjäger squads, and how much he's going to continue to bleed them if he doesn't get proper fire support in place and proper air usage. I feel like we are talking a lot about what GodsEmperor is doing wrong and not about what Magic Man is doing right, because he's playing a really clean game here. Like, he's very careful to have his tanks fire supports in the back. He's pushing forward, revealing the enemy infantry with his riflemen, and that is a fantastic trade. If you lose a rifleman for a Fallschirmjäger squad, you are absolutely in a good position.
Yeah, and yeah, just having these Recce squads accompany the Cromwell 7, for example, on the bottom side is just really smart. Allows him to spot the Panzerschrecks, the Puptions, any sort of AT gun that he potentially might come up against, even these L6s if they try and ambush him in the orchard or something. The Recce will spot those in advance if the rifles do not. And yeah, it is really good, but these rifles here are going to be cleaning up the Fallschirmführer in the mid. Fallschirmjägers have kind of taken back GodsEmperor's side of the town, but the Cromwell 7 are going to be coming over to support that. But yeah, the one thing that really confuses me is just why the Fallschirm Pioneers are in the positions they are instead of the Fallschirmjägers. If you swapped all of the Fallschirm Pioneer squads now with, like, on the backside of that town with the Fallschirmjägers inside the town, it would be perfect. But instead it is the other way around, which to me just makes absolutely no sense.
Again, I agree, it is just a little bit bizarre. But this is where we've landed. I would say one thing I would have liked to have seen from Magic Man, which he has brought in a little bit now, is maybe a bit more AA early on. You know, if you're going against a third Fallschirmjäger player who's playing, should we say maybe more conventionally, I think might be a nice way to put it, than GodsEmperor, you really, like, he could have been quite badly exploited, I feel, with that sort of lack of defense.
Yeah, definitely. Although, it does just show you how little threat the air has had so far in the game, in a sense that it's taken, what, 16 minutes of gameplay to, like, bring in a Crusader AA Mark 1. And what's this Fallschirm Pioneer here going to do against a Cromwell 6 as it advances? It's going to throw its 20 HE power grenade. if anything, that just reveals itself to the Cromwell 6, which is then going to absolutely demolish them at close range. And since they are within the 100-meter range to kill a Cromwell 7, they will get surrendered if they end up throwing a second. I think the rifles, I think the machine gun's just going to reveal itself anyway, yeah. And the Cromwell 7, they're just going to be able to shoot them. It's just really odd micro, like, GodsEmperor obviously knows about return fire, as he just put them on return fire. If he could have used that earlier on, that would have been really good. This Stug 3, though, that's coming in, that could be something that he uses to bring back some of these armor kills. If he's insistent on not bringing in any air force, maybe the Stugs can do the job instead. But when Firefly comes in, those Stugs are toast.
They absolutely are toast. And, I mean, even the Sherman 5 here, you know, it doesn't match it well at max range, but if it gets the drop, if it gets the first shot, which it will do, it doesn't kill it. But, you know, it has the potential to deal with it. You know, it's just as high a difference from the Stug 3 in terms of armor and AP values.
Yeah, the Sherman 5 at close range as well could just completely out-aim and kill that Stug 3. So, yeah, that could happen. But when you see rifles here surrendering Vulcan Pioneers on the top side, that is not a place you want to be in GodsEmperor's shoes. Like, that is... I don't know. I think the Emperor needs new shoes at this point.
Oh, that was a good one. By good, I mean terrible. Anyway, bad puns aside, we do see this Stug moving through a bit, but like you said, he needs to be really careful because the Sherman will aim a lot faster than that Stug, especially if the Sherman is kind of to the side of the Stug at all, and the Stug is turning.
Oh, this Tempest, I can't believe that's being allowed to fly around without an ME-109 contesting it. It's just very odd that not a single aircraft has come out in this game when it's the third Fallschirmjager of all divisions. Sherman 5 is just going to absolutely demolish that Pack 41. Pack 41 struggled to penetrate the front armor of the Sherman, so it was having really no effect. Cromwell 6 is going to be able to engage the Stug 3 at max range, and that may assist the Sherman 5 in winning that engagement. Oh, the Sherman does hit. Does not penetrate though, although it has significantly higher AP at this point. It's got like 13 AP at that range versus the 8 armor. That Stug 3 is in trouble.
Unless he gets a very lucky shot off, then yeah, I think he's might retreat without being forced to flee. So not the worst scenario for GodsEmperor. Oh, we finally see HS-129 coming in.
Oh, here it is, boys, and the
Double kill.
AA is not in place. It's a driver knock. Is it even going to get the kill? No, it is not.
Oh, that's so tragic.
Absolutely tragic, yes, indeed. HS-129, it might come round for the last 2 shots. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to get it. It'd be funny if the last 2 shots do get the kill, but nope, they're going to miss as well. Well, maybe that's why he didn't bring them in the first place, but...
Never trust a HS-129.
The thing is Corbo nails the HS-129 micro very well by like turning off the AP main gun and then using it at closer range by turning it on when it gets closer to get more accurate shots and more penetrating shots for a short amount of time, but it means you don't waste ammunition, so that when you do come round for a second run, you can just do it again and have much more chance of getting successful hits off the bat. In this case, GodsEmperor not doing that. Also, after it used up all of its AP shells, he left it in the air, and now it's been shot down by the Tempest. So, not the best use of a HS-129 ever. Maybe if it had killed the Sherman 5 and the Cromwell 6, we might have been saying different. But either way, it looks like the Stug 3 is going to be the one to pick up the credit for weapon jamming the Cromwell 6. And Fallschirmjagers on the top side here have been pinned down by that Tempest. So, fantastic job by TheMagicMan to take advantage of the mistakes of GodsEmperor. Cromwell 7 is going to be engaging the L6 at close range on the bottom side. And it's just going to be forcing that L6 down. Or back, sorry. But where can we go from here? We have finally reached phase C. What can GodsEmperor do, Val?
I don't know. This is one of those games, one of those situations where maybe if it was something slightly different, I might have a bit more faith. But he's just really kind of proven not to be able to use the planes the way he needs to. And if he's afraid to use the planes, he can't deal with stuff like the 17-pounder. He's not brought any artillery in for the entire game either, apart from that off-map. And, he just doesn't have the stuff. And with his insistence on using all these Fallschirmjagers in the open fields and in these kind of weird positions, like, what's he going to push with? He doesn't have anything, like, assuming he trades incredibly well with everything he sees, right? Let's assume he doesn't lose a single unit from here on out. He still can't get across the map fast enough to recoup these losses.
Yeah, he's currently sitting at a minus 61% territory lead, which is a +2 for the Magic Man. He's gone over 2,000 points at this stage. The 17-pounder just took out his Stug. The only real chance he has is if maybe another HS-129 is purchased, because it's more than likely that it will have more than one on the division, or at least I hope it is, and find some more significant kills onto this armor, and then bring in maybe some Stugs to sort of take advantage of that on the ground. But honestly, that's not happening, and there is currently 2 minutes and 55 seconds left until the Magic Man claims victory through conquest score.
Yeah, just I think if you're GodsEmperor, I don't want to sound mean at all on this, but I think it's definitely worthwhile going away, watching people like Corbo, some of the other sort of higher ranked players, people like Eugen, Corbo. We even saw people like her Robert gave some fantastic performances in some of the APTs. Watch how they play with fire support and planes, because that is how you make this deck work, and it works so well if you do it. We do see another HS-129 coming in, but it's right as the Tempest is coming in as well.
Yeah, the Tempest is right there on time, and the HS-129 is going to struggle to penetrate the front armor from the Cromwell. You can see as it gets closer, the penetration chance goes up, so you can find the kill, which is why you don't let it fire at max range, because it is completely ineffective at that range. But the HS-129 there shot down by the Tempest as it does come in at exactly the same time. And yes, the Cromwell's gone down, but that's not going to really make too much difference, as both of the L6s are already dead down there. So there's nothing really to recoup the land that has the potential to be taken. And an ME-109 G6R6 has finally arrived. One for the bottom side as well. He's going to finally strafe ground infantry. It's amazing to see that this is happening this late into the game. I think if you watch, again, you mentioned it, like Herr Robert, 1st Panzerner in the 4th APT, the use of those Hurricanes is absolutely amazing. To make ground early on and suppress units like tanks or AT guns, to make ground and allow space for his L6s. Or for his Cromwells in that case, with the 1st Panzerner. With the 3rd Fallschirmjager, you do that with the ME-109s again to make room for the L6s and your more mobile units. So Corbo likes to use the SPW AB41 in Phase B and C because they are extremely mobile wheeled units with quite decent firepower. So that's something that would be good to see, but in this case I think both ME-109 G6R6s have been forced back by AA and this Tempest. The Tempest might be able to clean up this ME-109 on the bottom side. No, ME-109 is going to get out. Or ME-109 G2BR21 though. The Spitfire Mark 9 on its tail. Tempest gets a little shot off onto that, but that's a dead ME-109. And yeah, I think there's a lot of practice needed for the sort of air style that the 3rd Fallschirmjager requires. Personally, I am not very good at playing the 3rd Fallschirmjager because I really don't get along well with using Air Force. I'm more of a person who likes to push on the ground with tanks supporting my infantry, with artillery pinning down the important units, which is kind of what the Magic Man's doing here with the Sextons, using those to sort of pin the artillery and infantry and then advance onto them. So if you want to play that style, the 3rd Fallschirmjager is not where you want to go, and I think that's kind of where GodsEmperor's got stuck. he's been given a division and he has a certain play style that doesn't really suit him, and it's kind of left him in a position where he'd made the wrong choice of division at the end of the day, and it's certainly come back to bite him. After 26 minutes and 37 seconds, the Magic Man is going to be victorious against GodsEmperor, and that is a significant kill death with 1,975 kills to 970 losses for the Magic Man. What are your thoughts, Val?
I think if you're the Magic Man, you're quite happy with this. He played a very solid game. Not a lot to criticize him for, but there are a few things. I think maybe he should have been a bit more on the ball early on with AA. Again, he won a convincing game, so don't take this as sort of slotting him in any way. He played a very good game. I think kind of maybe something to look into is sort of when he plays his AA on the field, especially as they provide good fire support as well. But GodsEmperor, I think if you're going to play this deck, the best news is that you can learn really well from some of these people we mentioned. People like Corbo is famous for this third Fallschirmjager, and it wasn't that his micro was super bad. It wasn't of the highest quality, but if you're GodsEmperor, if you go away and you play some more games with this in 1v1, learn to use your L6s in conjunction with your Fallschirmjager, and use your Air Force is the big one probably. He can improve. He can improve for sure.
Yeah, I think definitely we need to see that Air Force come out early on with the third Fallschirmjager. Asserting your air dominance as third Fallschirmjager is a big deal. And if your opponent doesn't react with AA, then you can severely do a lot of damage and take a lot of ground early on with a division that actually suffers for economy in Phase B. So that is a good place to be if you make ground in the early phase, and then you can sort of hold your positions in Phase B and then use the economy in Phase C to really drive home the victory. But in this case, being on the back foot for A and B left GodsEmperor in a very difficult position, where he then started to buy in the Air Force, but it wasn't good enough at that point. But unfortunately for GodsEmperor, he is going to be knocked out of the tournament at this point. The Magic Man will be moving on to the lower round 3, which is really good. Congratulations to him. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any last thoughts?
Not more than we've already said. Well
Yeah.
played to Magic Man. Commiserations to GodsEmperor, and see you in the next one, I suppose.
Yeah. So if GodsEmperor you're watching, don't get too down about it. Just maybe brush up on your third Fallschirmjager in some custom games and go into the next one with your head held high, mate. But that's all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.